prepared. All right. At least I got some feedback in my ears. Hello, everybody. Tonight's a big night. I dressed up. I put on a collar. My light may or may not be working. I think it's working right now. We're gonna find out. Oh my goodness. Well, how did we end up here? Oh my. We are. I've been thinking about this for days. We're gonna be okay. I promise you, we are going to be just fine. So, I don't know how long this is gonna take, so we're gonna get right to the show. So, let's go and do this. Do me a favor, as soon as you get here, let me know that you're here. Hello, Logan Calcaterra. Hello, Greg Meyer. Sherry! Steve! Yes, I am a little bit scruffy, brother. I am a little bit scruffy, but we're gonna get the big show started right now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mickey in the Middle. My name is Mickey. This is the quintessential show for middle Americans. We are the people that your mother warned you about. That's right, success in America. I'm the why guy. I'm the why does somebody on the right feel this way? Why does somebody on the left feel this way? And then I go out and I actually research some stuff. Now, I'm not an expert at anything. I'm not a doctor of anything. I am just a nobody in the middle of Arkansas that decided one day that I wanted to just put my views out there and see what people thought of them. And some people think that they're great. Some people don't think that they're great. But here's what I can tell you. I try to be as neutral as possible because what's happened in our world is people are divided. They see an issue and then they are offered a binary choice. I'll just take climate change, just any random thing, right? So if you think about random climate control issues, you don't have a choice on what you think, and your position cannot be nuanced. And the reason it can't be nuanced is because the Democrats have come up with what they believe on climate change, and the Republicans have come up, and then that's it. If you do not fall into one of those two categories, nobody wants to listen to you. And all of a sudden now you have a house divided because you're not allowed to be nuanced. You're not allowed to go, hey, well, I think that something's happening with the climate, but I don't know what to do. No, that's not acceptable. You either have to do A or you have to do B, or you're not even considered. So you join the crowd as the crowds have been defined for you, or then you're just not, they're not interested in hearing you. So Mickey in the Middle is all about why did we get to any certain position? What does the right think? What does the left think? How can we get them together? I always said that I don't want to ever listen to the 20% of crazies on the right or the 20% of crazies on the left. I want to listen to the 60% of the people that are in the middle. Middle Americans, the people that put the heart in America. And it doesn't matter what state you're from. It doesn't matter what your nationality is. It doesn't matter what skin tone you have. It doesn't matter whether you believe in religion, don't believe in religion, whether you're gay or straight or whatever. Americans make up the heart of our country. So in light of that, very, very recently, all hell has broken loose on the internet. It is just crazy. What they did is Parler has been deplatformed, and what that means is that they were being hosted by a company, and that company just took them right off the air and said that you're not allowed to. And I'm going to explain that because this is the reason why we're doing this. But before that, I got to give you a little bit of background. And so some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight are right here on my telephone. I hope that I have enough I do have enough battery in order to get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how did we get here. I'm talking about free speech and the internet and why that was a big thing. Internet growth and porn, because that's actually very, very important. FCC Decency and Communications Decency Act. Section 230. Telephone lines, electricity lines, internet lines, and why those are all different. And what you don't know about the internet, because there's a whole bunch of things out there that people just don't know about the internet. And it's not your fault. They don't want you to know what's going on with the internet. Nobody wants you to know. And most people are not interested in going out there and finding out what is going on the internet. Why are these happening? Why does Facebook have the ability to put you in timeout? Right? You're in the pool, they're the lifeguard, they go out of the pool, 2 minutes. Inappropriate comment. Flagged for false information. We're going to throw you off because we didn't like it that you used the F word or showed violence or showed kiddie porn, because they treat them all the same way, right? You might not think that what you put on there was offensive or bad or rude, or you might think it was truth. You might think you've done it in the best of light, and all of a sudden, boom, you're on the sidelines. You're not allowed to talk to your friends anymore. We're going to talk about that. Hello, Susie. How you doing? Craig Myers. If we don't like what you say, you will be impeached. Well, thank you very much, sir. I greatly appreciate it. And I don't know how far this is going to go. I might say something that's going to piss off the overlords, and I might get kicked off of Facebook and YouTube. I'm probably going to drop my Twitter account tonight. I don't know, but I'm probably going to drop my Twitter account tonight. I can't go back to Parler because Parler's gone, but I will be on Rumble, and I'm going to check out the other platforms that are out there. Hello, Logan Calcadera. Hey, Lane, how you doing? If your mom said hi. And hello, Don, out there in Arizona. Greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's get right to this. I don't know how long this is going to take, but I'm going to try to make it as concise as possible. Two things kicked this off. The first thing was I saw a post from a friend of mine. Her first name starts with B. And she said on a post that it was never said that the internet was about free speech. Well, actually, yeah, it did. And then she went on and said that you have absolutely no right to say whatever you want on your page, that you don't have the right to do that, and that everybody should be good citizens of the interweb. And you should have good digital citizenship. Now, I agreed with some of the things that she says. She's been a friend of mine a long time. She's very innovative in her field, and she's very creative. She's absolutely right on a lot of things. But what struck me about her comment is that she was defending the fact that you could be penalized, and you can be put in timeout, or you can be deplatformed, you can be demonetized, you can be doing nothing. The second thing that happened was somebody else that I know, her name is E. I will only use initials because I don't want to throw any of my friends underneath the bus. She had said that she had seen a lot of things. She's scared for our country, but that somebody had given her some perspective about how good the United States of America was, and then there were some other assurance that were in there. But I went down later in what my reply to her is that we are all interconnected, we are all interrelated. If we get off the internet, we don't do the news, all of a sudden now we have the ability to get away from the vitriol, get away from the politics, get away from all of the opinion persons, and then we get to go live our life. Because if you have never been on Facebook, on Twitter, on WeMe, on YouTube, or on anything like that, you're good. My dad's sitting in there right now. He never watches the news, and he is watching the National Football League, or the College Football Championship, and he is good. He's happy. God, is he happy. He's with me. So, yeah. All right. So, in light of that, and in light of this is how we got to where we are. So I'm going to go back to the free speech thing. So do you remember in 2010 a thing called the Arab Spring? Do you remember that? So what happened is a bunch of folks in the Arab countries like Egypt, Jordan, Tunisia, Sudan, a bunch of other countries in the Arab world, started having revolutions or revolting against their government because their government was oppressive and they were not giving them the freedoms that they deserved as people being on the planet. Do you know what the one thing that held them all together was? Twitter. That's where Twitter gained its fame and glory. Now, Twitter started in about 2006, and up until the Arab Spring, they were a very, very small platform. You could only do limited number of words, and everybody said, why would that ever work? But you could exchange information. You could go against your government And I'm not advocating that. I'm just telling you what happened in the Arab Spring. So that all of this freedom of speech, you could talk about your government in bad ways. You can talk about the people that you didn't like. There's a whole bunch of hate over there. But Twitter gained glory and fame because of the Arab Spring. If you look at the world, 10 years later after that, the entire Arab world is totally different. Egypt changed. Jordan changed. Tunisia, not so much. But Bahrain and Kuwait, all of those countries embraced humanity and civilization, and they were like, hey, look here, we're going to be part of the bigger world. We are going to expand our horizons and get information, and we're going to be able to communicate on Twitter. And hey, look here, we're going to be able to get Facebook accounts, and there's not going to be any limited free speech because Twitter gave them the ability to do that. Twitter was born because of free speech, and now it is one of the largest platforms on the planet. And people love the Twitter. They get their own little Twitter feeds. They get to go follow everybody. They get to follow the information that they want. And that's great. So a few years later, what ended up happening is, and I want to go by my notes because I have very, very specific, right? So what ended up happening is the internet came about in the late 80s and in the 90s, but it was still fledgling. Between 1996 and 2000, everybody started getting a traction and started going. And then early in the 2000s, porn came along. And everybody's like, hey, man, I don't need to go buy Playboy Penthouse Hustlers anymore. I can just go on the internet and I can ask my friend to take pictures of their Playboys or Hustlers in their penthouse. And then they can send them to me via the interweb right to my pictures. And I can go look at all the porn that I want. What a wonderful thing for people that wanted to look at porn. So the Federal Communication, the FCC came up with this thing called the Federal Communication Decency Act or something like that. And they said, hey, look here, man, you can't be doing porn on the internet. We're not going to allow that. And somebody went, that's free speech, bro. That's free speech. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to go free speech with this porn. And somebody sued the FCC, and that took it all the way up to the Supreme Court because they could not believe that the Supreme Court would ever allow free speech over the internet that involved porn. But what they said was, it's free speech. Larry Flynt of Hustler went to the Supreme Court and said, you can't stop me from publishing because of the First Amendment. And he won at the Supreme Court. He was the editor and publisher of Hustler magazine. And Larry Flynt, you can watch it on there's a movie out there about it. Larry Flynt went to the Supreme Court and they said, you're right, we cannot restrict free speech. Go print whatever you want, and whoever wants to buy that can buy that from you. You can even give it away. But Hustler magazine changed free speech. You remember the little thing about the flag burning that went to the Supreme Court as well? So you can go burn a flag. Do you know why you can do that? Because that's free speech. So you can grab an American flag and you can go out and you can burn an American flag. When somebody challenged that went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court once again said, hey, look here, the flag rules that you made up in Congress are not applicable to burning of flags. So the flag burning and porn went into the same free speech agenda thing. And so that you can do both of those things. And that is relevant because a few years later, somebody said, hey, look here, if we can't have the FCC Communications Decency Act, I think that's what it's called, if we can't have that, what are we going to do with it? So they ended up throwing out the entire thing except for one thing, and that is Section 230, which we will talk about in a moment. Okay, so now we're getting up. So the Supreme Court struck down everything in the Federal Communications Decency Act, and it really made televisions mad because up to that point, the FCC had made rules about when you can show people in bed together, right? Because before Lucy Arnaz, you couldn't even show people in the same a husband and wife in the same bed together. That's why Lucy and her husband Ricardo had to sleep in separate beds when they did that. Did you know that? That's a TV history thing. So they had to sleep in separate beds because they couldn't even be shown in the same bed. And then they had the language that you couldn't even say. Ask George Carlin about 7 words that you're not allowed to say on TV or radio. Because there were 7 words. Guess what? You can say every single one of those words now. You couldn't have adult programming before like 11 p.m. Look what they have on daytime TV right now. So they threw out everything that the FCC had put together except for one thing, Section 230. And the reason why that is important is because Section 230 basically said, hey, look here, are the people that are transmitting all of these images responsible for what Larry Flynt does? And they went, well, they're just providing an internet cable from one person to another, so no, they should not be held liable what Larry Flynt does and sells and the person that receives that. Because the federal government is not in the business of limiting free speech. So you can go put whatever you want to out there on the internet and it's okay with the government. Now, here's where this gets interesting, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my screen over here. Let me see if I can do that. Here we go. All right, wrong screen. Let me change screens. HP display. Let's take that one off. All right, so here we go. So if you guys can read that, okay? So this is Section 230. This is what Wikipedia says about Section 230. And the reason why this is important is because Section 230 from Wikipedia, this was just recently updated. It's got 2020 content in here. And what it says is, if you'll notice this little section right here, this is what Wikipedia has. Notice that they don't have the entire lexicon that's on there. They only have this, and it says no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. So, Mickey in the middle, right? I'm a content provider. That means that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher. That means that everything that goes out of here is not going to be treated as a publisher. They're not going to be treated like it's their content. They're only providing a line going in and out. The rest of this stuff is basically just history of what happened with Section 230, and it says a little bit about porn in there. It says about all the suits in there and about how they threw out everything in the FCC, Federal Communications, whatever the heck they are, their Decency Act, except Section 230, and that's why this is important. No provider of an interactive computer service shall be treated as a publisher or speaker of the information. However, right? However, and this is where it gets interesting. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you over here, and I'm going to change screens again, right? I'm going to change screens, so hold on, because this is important. I'm going to go to this one. All right, so I'm going to go to this one, which is a screen. I'm going to get rid of that one, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up this one. And then I'm going to bring up this. All right. So, first of all, thank you very much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. I will get to your comments in just a minute. So, what I want to do is I want to show you why this is important. Okay? I'm down here. So, this is you. Uh-oh. Stand by. Okay. So, this is you. This right here is your telephone. This right here is your electricity. And this right here is your internet. We're going to get to that in a minute. Okay? All right. So we have 3 different things. And this is very, very, very important for everybody to understand about how we got in the mess that we are in. A long time ago, there was only one telephone company. Rates were extremely expensive because AT&T had put lines all across the country and all across the world. And in order to pay for all of that infrastructure, they owned it. So that means whoever wanted to make a phone call owed AT&T a lot of money. They were called Ma Bell. They had thousands and thousands of operators that would connect you, and they would also put a telephone for a small sum every single month that went in that gave you access to their system. After a while, prices got so high, they got so big, they were deemed a monopoly, and they were broke up into what they call the baby bells. So the baby bells basically competed with each other, reducing the cost, and then that's how we ended up with the telephone system that we have today. I hope that that was clear with everybody, right? So telephones. But one of the things that they did with the telephones is when they made all these little baby bells, they deregulated it. They said that anybody could get into the business, and AT&T had to host them no matter what happened across their lines. So if you wanted to send faxes, if you wanted to send pictures, or if you wanted to do the internet across them, nobody in the world could stop you because they were deregulated, and that means that you had access to all of the telephone lines, and that's where companies like Sprint came from, and who else? Sprint. I don't know, whoever else became a telephone company, right? So that, and then you had Southern Bell and then Northern Bell and Western Bell. That's where all the different companies came from that could compete against each other. The reason why that is interesting and the reason why it's applicable today is because they deregulated telephones and nobody could tell you what you could put across them because they broke up AT&T. Let's talk about electricity. So what happened is with electricity became far and wide, but it became what they call a public utility. They cannot deny you electricity. It's in the law, unless you live in California. And what happened in California was if you didn't wear a mask or if you had a party, Governor Newsom gave them the authority to cut off your electricity so that you would freeze in the winter or you would die of heat. That's the first time that electricity had ever been used by a politician to get a political result or to influence the people that it was happening to. So they not only arrested them, they not only ticketed them, but they also cut off their electricity. That's a party foul, right? Everybody should have the same access, but because they're considered a public utility, but they're owned by government/private companies. So they're owned multiple ways. So in your local, you can have a municipality, you can have a co-op, you can have a electrical company, you can have the government do it. So it's all over the map. Here is why that is, both of those examples are important here and now. God, I hope I'm not boring you. You have a computer at your house. You hook it up to the internet. They come and do you a favor, and then you hook that up to an ISP. That ISP goes to what they call a host. That host, I'm going to list them down here, are things like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, GoDaddy, Amazon. Right? So they're hosting all of your information so that you can share all of this stuff with your friends. Prior to this, what they told the porn companies was, nobody has to help you get your content to them. Because under 230, where is it? Under section 230, right here, if you scroll down, this is all of the thing. They have the Good Samaritan law, protection for the Good Samaritans, blocking and screening of offensive material. Civil liberty. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be held liable on account of anything that is sent over the internet. Any action taken to disable valuable information. All right. So, but here's what they said, right? Say any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access or availability of material that is provided or users considered to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable, whether or not such material is constitutionally protected, or any action taken to enable or make available information to others technically means to restrict access to materials described in paragraph 1. I'm going to let that sink in. They gave them the ability to, number one, block, or no, number one, they are not to be held liable on account of anything that goes across their lines. And in the second paragraph, they said you can restrict whatever you want. They got it both ways. They got it absolutely both ways. Here's why this is important. That means that without you even realizing it, they have it both ways. They can block whoever they want for whatever reason they want. All they have to say is it is obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. They can object to me right now. They can throw me off the air. Whether or not such material is constitutionally protected. So even if the material is constitutionally protected, they can throw it off. You can read whatever you want. You can read the Constitution of the United States of America in an Abraham Lincoln suit, and they can throw you off of the internet because otherwise objectionable. Who's supposed to determine that? But the second part of this is any action voluntarily taken in good faith. All they have to say is, hey, everything we're doing is good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider or user considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, and blah, 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 blah. They can get rid of it all. And you can't do anything about it. Is that crazy or what? And here's why I need to go back to that. I need to go back to that because you need to see this. Okay, you need to be able to see this. I'm about to erase this. Come on, you. All right, hold on just a second. I'm going to erase the screen. Okay. Here is why this is important. And this is what I've been getting to the whole time. Okay. Okay, you guys can see this, right? This is you. Uh-oh, sorry. This is you. And this is why it's important for you. This is you. You have an ISP, right? These are the hosts. What happened with Parler is Parler was right here with Amazon. By the way, these are internet sites by size. Google is by far the largest. YouTube is second. Facebook is third. Amazon and Pornhub. Amazon, Pornhub, and Wikipedia are all stacked right there together. And definitely in the top 10. But this is Parler. So they had an ISP and Parler, right? Parler was you. They had an ISP and they were hosted by Amazon. Amazon just said, we find you objectionable and you are out. That's how easy it was. That's how easy it was. They just said, we find you objectionable. Sorry, we don't have to host you anymore. You want to know why? This is what and this is what will blow your mind. The person that provides this line right here, the person that provides the ISP, the person that provides this line right here, and the host can all declare the same thing. This has nothing to do with the government. They are not government monopolies. These are all different companies. Because when the FCC or when the government put this together, they said we want the internet to grow, so we don't want the companies liable, and we want them to have the ability to restrict material like porn so that they don't have to have it going through their website. But then they screwed everybody else for any other reason. So here's what the porn companies did. The porn companies went straight through the ISPs, and they became their own porn. They got their own server. It's right here. Let me do this. Let me get rid of this. So the porn companies are right there. They host their own stuff. That means, do you have a server? Do you have a server? Because if you don't have a server, you are at the mercy of anybody that hosts you. Mickey in the Middle is on Facebook. Mickey in the Middle is on Facebook. All of your favorite people are on either Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or somebody else. They're hosted by somebody. That means that everybody that provides a transmission line or a hosting service or an ISP can all of a sudden write you right out. All they have to do is not like you. And I would like you to think about a young person, 13-year-old, that does a dance routine in a gymnasium that you film and you upload it to Facebook. You want like grandma and grandpa and boys and girls and aunts and uncles and all these other people to see your child perform this. And somebody at all of these hosting agencies can say, we find that objectionable. We don't like the way that they were twerking in that. We find that offensive, lewd, otherwise objectionable. And they can dump you. They don't have to give you a reason why. That's what makes this bad. That's what makes this absolutely terrible. It's because you do not have a choice about who is providing the transmission lines into you, the ISPs, or the hosting services for you. So unless you have your own server to get on the AT&T telephone lines that are unregulated, then you do not have a choice. Because all of these companies use the infrastructure that's built by AT&T that is deregulated. But you have to have a computer, you have to have a server, you have to have a host. That's disturbing. So, you remember the show Cuties? You remember the, I'll get that in a second. Do you remember the show Cuties? Right, on Netflix? Right? They got away from it because they hosted themselves. Netflix is their own company, so they can put out whatever they want, and they're absolutely protected on that. If anybody takes their contents and puts it out, well, too bad. They don't have to like it. That becomes what the consumer likes and what the consumer doesn't like. If you want to say that you like Trump, if you want to say that you like Biden, whoever's hosting you can decide whether it's okay, and they can wipe it out because they just wiped out an entire website, Parler. Do you have pictures on Shutterfly? What if they go through your pictures on Shutterfly and decide that they don't like you putting those and sharing those with all of your friends or any other picture site? I'm about to blow your mind even further. Do you have online cloud storage? Do you have online cloud storage? Because that's why they wanted all your data. Because now you're linked to them. Now your information is being hosted by them. They control you. They have you by the short hairs. They can get rid of you at any time that they want. They can wipe your data without even consulting you. They can just say anything. We find it otherwise unobjectionable. And then if they delete it and you take them to court, they go, hey, look here, we're an internet company. We're an internet company. You can't do anything. You can't touch us. You can't sue us. We can host or not host anything that we want to. And the people that justify their actions don't understand that the entire country is screwed. because of 230. They've got it both ways. Do you have anything on the cloud? Do you have the Apple Cloud thing? That's what they did with Parler's app. They were like, hey, look here, we're a hosting company. We don't like their app. Done. Google, same thing. Pixoid or whatever the hell. Boom, done. They can do the same thing with you. They can do the same thing with your entire life. So unless you have a computer and a server and you can figure out how to link up with somebody else, you're basically done. And we're not all smart enough to do that. So they got to change the law. We have to insist that they change the law. Because right now, we are not going to be able to survive this. Mark Alcantara says, getting an ISP server is impossible for everyday Americans. Right, they're too expensive. Google owns YouTube. Yes, Google owns YouTube, but they broke up into two different companies. They're a sub-corporation, right? So Google also owns ABC. So they got ABC, they got Google. They're a corporation with a bunch of sub-corps. I mean, porn is on the internet is okay, but no, porn on the internet is perfectly legal because they've got their own hosts and they have their own servers, and then they go through the telephone lines, which are deregulated. But the person that owns the telephone lines, if you have fiber optic cables, you can be considered a transmitter of that. You have to have a host, you have to have a receiver. Your computer is actually a little bitty server. It's just not powerful enough to get stuff out the way that you need it to get done. So point on the internet is okay, but the right to voice my opinion isn't. No, your point on the internet is okay, but you cannot say, it has to be approved whoever it goes through, which includes the transmission lines, the ISP, and your host. So Facebook is a host. YouTube is a host. Twitter is a host. All of the other social media sites, all the way back to AOC, LOC, whatever that was, right? AOL. Those are all those sites. This is crazy. So journalists can say and print whatever they see fit without naming their sources, but we get blocked or scrutinized. Well, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So journalists cannot say whatever they want and print whatever they want. And the reason is because they are not protected by 230. They have libel laws, defamation laws, and other laws that say that they are not allowed to incite things, that they're not allowed to defame anyone, they're not allowed to libel anyone, they're not allowed to make vicious rumors, because then you can take them to court because they have damaged you. But that does not apply to internet companies. So if you're an internet company, you can say whatever you want to as long as it is transmitted and hosted by the company. You can say it. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure that I can say whatever I want about anybody because I am producing content. And then that content is protected by the Supreme Court. Because if I can show porn and I can show gratuitous violence and I can burn flags or I can do anything, I am protected because of these rules in the internet. Now, I'm not going to test that. I'm not going to test it. I'll let somebody else test it. Because if somebody goes, hey, Mickey Spillane he defamed my character, all I'm going to do is go section 230. You wanted the internet to grow, I can say whatever I want to, and I am perfectly protected and I'm not responsible for it. It doesn't say anything about content providers. It doesn't say anything about anything else. I'm protected by 230. I'm creating content for the internet. I'm not going to test it. So, and that's what basically the thing is. I can't speak for everybody. This is the way that I see this. This is the way that I looked at this and I read it, and when I finally understood 230, I was like, this is how Facebook and Google and the internet can get rid of everything. It's absolutely the craziest thing. So the overlords are in control without our consent. Well, the government cannot restrict your free speech on a telephone. They cannot restrict your free speech in any place. The government cannot restrict free speech. So what they're having is they're having all the internet providers do it for them. Or the internet providers are doing it on their own without consultation of the government. They get to pick and choose who they do. Now, the crazy thing about this is if you look at hold on just a second, desktop. If you look at this picture, right here, these are all the different people that are out there. So what's going to happen is, I did that wrong. Parler's going to come out there. And Parler's going to go, and I don't know this, right? I've got nothing to do with Parler, other than the fact that I'm on it at Hey Sarge, or at Mickey in the Middle. I've got nothing to do with Parler. But right now, they're out there trying to find their own servers so that they don't have to go through Amazon. And they're going to go buy their own servers, and then they're going to restart their company, and then they're going to be another platform just like Pornhub, just like YouTube, just like Google, just like Facebook. Their only mistake was they were being hosted by Amazon. And Amazon said, don't like it. I don't like that 1% of your people are talking about bad stuff on there. So we're going to throw you the whole site off. We have the perfect right under 230 to do that. And you cannot sue us, and there's nothing that you can do about it. By the way, I dressed up for this because everybody needs to understand what is going on. Everybody needs to understand exactly where we are and where we are sitting. Right now, I'm at 40 minutes and 55 seconds. I'm very, very sorry that this took so long. I dressed up. I'm even wearing pants. Yes, they're pajama pants, but they're pants nonetheless. And I did have a collar. And, oh yeah, I better show everybody my guitar pick because I like playing guitar. So, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I hope you learned a lot. This was not about picking sides. This is just about the way that it is. You got to protect your information, because if it is on Shutterfly, if it is on YouTube, if it is on OneSource, or if it is on Apple, it's whatever, they can determine whatever they're doing. If you have a Chromebook, it's literally hooked up to the internet and they hold your data. That's the beautiful thing about a Chromebook is you type in here through the internet, they store all of your information, they keep all of your information safe, and then you can retrieve it whenever they want. You put the wrong thing on there and they can delete your account without any reason. All they have to say is, I find it objectionable. And I'm very, very sorry about this. So like it, share it, tell all your friends about it. This is what the reality is and what we are facing on the internet. So thank you very much to everybody that tuned in tonight. I want to let you know that I didn't mean to be so serious. God, when I start talking about stuff, I don't crack enough jokes. So, but that's the way that it is. We better break out the carrier pigeons. We better break out Paul Revere to go and deliver messages back and forth. The Pony Express, the Telegraph, the telegrams and all of that stuff, because that's protected free speech. But if you go through anybody else, including your ISP, including all of the hosting services, you have absolutely no option. You're just screwed until we change this. Oh, I forgot to give you solutions. All right, so here's what the solution is. The solution is you make everybody on the internet choose whether you are going to be a publisher and totally protected, or publisher and be liable for what is said, or you say we're going to be a platform and provider, which means that we are not responsible. All you have to do is take the 2 paragraphs that I showed you under civil liability, under the Good Samaritan block of 230, which is here, and you just have to divide those up. And if you divide those things up, there it is. If you divide these 2 things up right here, where'd it go? Civil liability. If you divide these things up, no provider or user of an interactive service shall be held liable, and they can block access and restrict availability of material. Nobody shall be held liable, and they have the ability to restrict material. You got to give them, you got to look at them and you got to pick one of the 2. You're either a publisher and you're liable, or you're a platform and you're not liable. And if you are a platform, you're not allowed to stop anybody from printing anything out. You're just a go-through. You're where dots and dashes and electrons flow, and you're not allowed to restrict everybody. However, the people that produce and are content providers on your platform are liable. People like me would be liable. So the company, my ISP is not liable. The line company is not liable. My host is not liable. And then I can get it out to my people. But I'm liable. So that if you don't like what I say, or if I say some defaming things about you, or if I tell you a lie and it costs you money, you can actually hold me accountable for that. So you either say you're one, a platform, or two, you're a publisher, but you cannot be both. And then we can leave these rules in place. We can leave the rules in place, but then somebody's held accountable, because the federal government cannot stop free speech, but these people can and are. With that being said, Miggy in the Middle's out. You guys have a good one, right? Enjoy the football game. I'm going to go watch a rerun of it. Don't tell me who won. So, love you. Remember to live, laugh, love, and peace, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye. Oh, there it is. See ya. Thank you, Susie. Yes, sir, Greg. It is all about HW servers and a firewall. Terry, send me the link for that. Thanks.